In the vast emptiness of the Orion Spur, nestled between swirling nebulas and stoic cold stars, humanity carved out its existence on a modest cluster of planets, collectively known as the Solarius sector. Life in the sector was never easy. The threat of alien encounters was a constant specter that haunted every ship's voyage through the dark cosmos. Yet, nothing had prepared humanity for the Hazari. The Hazari, a warlike alien species from the depths of the uncharted territories, first appeared on human radars when a single ship broke through the interstellar boundaries of the sector. Their intentions became tragically clear when they landed on one of the remote outposts, Kelm 4, a mining colony on the edge of the Solarius sector. The day was ordinary, with miners going about their strenuous tasks, until the sky was slashed by the brilliant, menacing lights of the Hazari ship. Panic ensued as the alien beings descended, their bodies tall and sinewy, covered in scales that glittered like the mineral-rich rocks of Kelm 4. Their technology was beyond comprehension, their motives inscrutable and dark. Amidst the chaos, a child named Eli, barely 10 years old, found himself the focus of a cruel and unusual attention from the Hazari leader. The miners, his parents among them, could only watch in horror as the aliens with tools and devices began their torment upon him under the guise of an invasive scientific examination. The news of this brutality shook the Human Defense Coalition on Earth. While diplomatic efforts had always leaned towards peaceful interactions with other species, the torture of a child was a line crossed. It stirred something ancient and powerful within the corridors of the human command. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, in a facility long sealed and hidden from public knowledge, rested the Juggernauts. These were not mere machines. They were titans, crafted in the early days of human expansion into space, when war with unknown entities was a realistic threat. The Juggernauts were a myth, a ghost story told within the military, of machines so powerful they could tear planets asunder. They were the ultimate deterrent, never activated, until now. General Ada Maris, overseeing Earth's defenses, made the call that reverberated through the high command. "Activate the Juggernauts!" she ordered, her voice a mix of fury and fear. Technicians worked frenetically, breaking the ancient seals and initiating the long-dormant systems of these colossal machines. As the Juggernauts stirred from their slumber, the ground of Mars quaked, sending ripples through the red dust that covered its barren landscape. The first of them, designated Alpha 1, stood nearly a kilometer tall, its body a patchwork of dark metals and pulsing energy cores. Its eyes, if they could be called that, glowed with a fierce blue light, scanning the horizon as if remembering its purpose after centuries of dormancy. Meanwhile, back on Kelm 4, Eli's torment continued, his cries echoing through the mining tunnels, reaching out into the cosmos. His pain was not just his own. It became a signal, a beacon of the injustices humanity had suffered under the guise of exploration and peace. As the Juggernauts prepared for deployment, humanity held its breath. The ancient titans were not just machines of war. They were a statement, a testament to human ingenuity and resolve. The universe was about to witness the awakening of humanity's greatest protectors, or its most devastating weapons. With the stage set and the Juggernauts ready, the human forces rallied, preparing to reclaim their dignity and deliver retribution. The war for humanity's survival was no longer a distant possibility. It had arrived with the ferocity of awakened giants. The battle lines were drawn, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The engines of the Juggernaut Alpha 1 hummed with a resonance that shook the cosmos, its silhouette against Mars' horizon a stark reminder of mankind's capability for both creation and destruction. As it stepped off the Martian surface, the vacuum of space embraced its massive frame. Joined by its brethren, the fleet of Juggernauts moved with a deliberate pace towards the embattled mining colony of Kelm 4. Back on Kelm 4, the situation grew increasingly dire. Eli, with his small frame now frail and exhausted from the aliens' relentless procedures, lay in a containment field, his spirit flickering like the dim lights overhead. The Hazari, unaware of the impending threat, continued their cruel experiments, driven by a cold scientific curiosity that saw humans as little more than subjects. In the war room on Earth, General Ada Maris and her team monitored every movement of the Juggernauts through the depths of space. Screens flickered with data, trajectories adjusted, and communications streamed in from every outpost and ship stationed in the sector. The tension was palpable. Every heart in the room beat in sync with the pulsing lights of the warboard. As the Juggernauts approached Kelm 4, their arrival was not silent nor subtle. The lead ship, Alpha 1, sent a broadcast across all frequencies, a simple message of impending retribution. Cease your actions and surrender, or face annihilation. The Hazari, interpreting the threat through their devices, paused their torment of Eli, their senses tuning to the new, ominous presence encroaching upon their position. The standoff was brief. When the Hazari failed to respond to the ultimatum, the Juggernauts engaged. The first volley of fire from Alpha 1 was a spectacle of devastating precision and power. Bright beams of concentrated energy sliced through the Hazari ship's shields as if they were mere whispers of smoke. The ship shuddered violently under the impact, its hull buckling and rupturing in the cold grip of space. Amid the chaos, a small team of human commandos clad in the latest armored suits made their way to the surface of Kelm 4. Their mission was clear: rescue Eli and any other human captives and gather as much intelligence as possible. The team moved through the jagged, rocky terrain, using the confusion and the cover of debris as concealment from the alien sentries. Inside the Hazari vessel, alarms blared and corridors were bathed in a menacing red glow. The commandos breached the hull with explosive precision, sweeping through the labyrinthine interior with their weapons at the ready. They reached the containment area where Eli and other prisoners were held. A brief but fierce exchange of fire ensued, the commandos' training allowing them to subdue the alien guards with minimal casualties. Eli, barely conscious, recognized the insignia on the suits of his rescuers, a stylized earth encircled by olive branches, and a flicker of hope reignited within him. He was swiftly extracted from the containment field and carried back towards the extraction point, his small hand gripping the suit of his rescuer. As the commandos rendezvoused with their extraction craft, the battle outside continued to rage. The Juggernauts, unrelenting and precise, dismantled the Hazari ship piece by piece, ensuring that no further threat could emanate from this foe. With each strike, they avenged not just Eli, but also the pride and safety of a species pushed to the brink. With the child secured and the enemy vessel neutralizing, the Juggernauts and their human commanders prepared for the next phase of their defense. The message was clear: humanity was not to be trifled with, and its guardians would go to any length to protect their own. The war had truly begun, and the stakes had never been higher. On Earth, in the secure depths of the United Nations New Defense Command Center, leaders from every major nation gathered. Their faces, projected as holograms around the large circular table, flickered with the urgency of the situation. General Ada Maris stood at the head, her expression grim but determined. "The first strike was a success," she began, her voice cutting through the murmurs of the assembly. "The Hazari ship over Kelm 4 has been neutralized, and the hostages, including the child, have been rescued. However, we must consider this merely the opening move in what could escalate into a broader conflict." A hologram flickered more brightly as the Japanese delegate, Minister Sato, interjected. "We need to understand why the Hazari targeted a child in such a manner. It's not just cruel, it's calculated. What do they know? What are they trying to find out?" The Russian representative, General Orlov, leaned forward, his image casting shadows over the table. "It's possible they're testing our biological responses, weaknesses, perhaps for a weapon or a more extensive invasion. We must prepare for all possibilities." Ada nodded, tapping on her console to bring up a star map. "We've located 3 potential Hazari strongholds." Points on the map glowed ominously. "I propose a series of precision strikes, using the Juggernauts to dismantle their operational capacity across these sectors." The room filled with a chorus of approvals and doubts, a symphony of strategic possibilities. Dr. Lena Forsyth, the British scientific advisor, suggested, "We should also capture one of their leaders for interrogation. Understanding their motivations could give us an advantage." The plan evolved quickly. 3 strike teams would be deployed, each led by a Juggernaut, with the objectives of dismantling Hazari capabilities, capturing a leader, and collecting data on their weaponry and defenses. Meanwhile, back on Kelm 4, Eli was recovering aboard the medical ship, the Sanctuary. His body was weak, but his mind was flooded with memories of the ordeal. Doctors moved around him, their instruments whirring softly, healing his physical wounds and trying to ease his psychological scars. He spoke little but watched the stars through the porthole, his eyes tracing the paths of spaceships darting across the dark. The Sanctuary's chief medical officer, Dr. Emily Stanton, kept a close eye on Eli. She had seen many cases of trauma, but the cold, calculated cruelty inflicted upon this child was something far darker. "You're safe now, Eli," she reassured him gently. "You're very brave, and we're going to make sure they can't hurt you or anyone else again." Back on Earth, the Council's meeting was adjourning. The operations were set, and as the holograms faded, each leader was left with the weight of the coming days. Ada Maris stayed behind, reviewing the deployments, her eyes never leaving the glowing points on the star map. Each point was a battle, each battle a step towards an uncertain future for humanity. The Juggernauts, now more than mythic protectors, were the spearhead of humanity's response. As the ships prepared for departure, the crews checked every system, every weapon, knowing the gravity of their mission. The silence of space awaited them, a canvas upon which the next chapter of human resilience and determination would be written. As the fleet of Juggernauts traversed the silent void toward their targets, the Hazari strongholds appeared on the scanners like festering wounds in the fabric of space. Each vessel pulsed with the rhythm of war, crews ready, weapons primed, the tension palpable as breaths were held and orders awaited. In the cold expanse, the Juggernaut designated Alpha 2 led the charge toward the largest stronghold, a massive space fortress orbiting a desolate moon in the Bellari system. The stronghold, bristling with cannons and armored plating, seemed to challenge the approaching titans of humanity with silent contempt. Commander Helen Zhao aboard Alpha 2 observed the fortress through the holographic displays. "Prepare to engage cloaking devices and initiate silent running," she instructed her crew. The Juggernaut, along with its escort of stealth ships, vanished from normal sight, a ghostly fleet set against the starlit backdrop. Simultaneously, the strike team on Alpha 3 approached another target, a sprawling shipyard where the Hazari built their war machines. Captain Marcus Leone surveyed the yard with tactical precision. "Deploy the EMP drones now," he commanded. Moments later, pulses of electromagnetic energy burst from the drones, blanketing the area and disabling the shipyard's defenses before a single shot could be fired in retaliation. Back on the medical ship, Eli watched a star map, his fingers tracing the paths his rescuers now followed. Dr. Stanton entered his room with a tablet, showing him images of the stars and nebulae. "These are parts of your galaxy, Eli," she said, trying to provide a distraction. "Each one has stories, just like you have your own." Meanwhile, on Earth, General Maris monitored the progress of the missions. Reports flickered in, each one a mixture of terse updates and tense anticipation. Her mind raced through scenarios, each decision rippling through space, affecting countless lives. In the shadows of another desolate asteroid field, Alpha 1 targeted a research facility. General Ada had been explicit about the importance of this mission: capture a Hazari leader. As the Juggernaut positioned itself, a team of special operatives, suited for zero gravity and combat, prepared in the airlock. "Team, this is a capture mission. We need them alive for interrogation," briefed Lieutenant Kara Thrace. "Use non-lethal force as much as possible." The operatives nodded, their faces set with resolve under their helmets. The assault on the research facility was swift. The operatives breached the outer defenses, disabling guards with stun blasts, and quickly advancing towards the central chamber where intelligence suggested the leader would be located. The corridors echoed with the sounds of muffled weapons and the thud of falling bodies. Inside the chamber, they found their target, a high-ranking Hazari officer surrounded by screens displaying star maps and tactical data. The officer turned, surprise registering briefly before a stun blast took him down. The team secured the leader, and Lieutenant Thrace reported back, "Target secured, preparing for extraction. As each mission unfolded, the balance of power began to shift subtly. Humanity was not just defending, but asserting its strength and strategic acumen. The captured Hazari leader would provide invaluable insights into enemy operations, and perhaps even motivations. On the sanctuary, Eli continued to watch the stars, his mind wandering among them, finding solace in their calm light. Dr. Stanton watched him, hoping that the child's spirit, like humanity itself, would find a way to heal and grow stronger from the trials endured. As the stars watched silently, the next phase of humanity's bold defense was already setting into motion. The captured Hazari officer, bound in a containment cell aboard the Juggernaut Alpha 1, glared with eyes that held the cold depths of space. The room was stark, illuminated only by the harsh light that spilled over the interrogation table. General Ada Maris stood opposite, her gaze unwavering as she studied the creature that had brought so much pain to her people. "Who are you?" she began, her voice firm and controlled. The Hazari remained silent, its breathing steady and untroubled. Ada continued, "Your attacks on our colonies, the abductions? What is it that you seek from us?" Still, the Hazari said nothing, its eyes reflecting a stoic resolve. Ada turned to the one-way glass behind her, giving a slight nod. Moments later, a hologram flickered to life beside her, displaying images of Kelm 4, the children, the devastation wrought by the Hazari's actions. "We can do this the easy way, or the hard way. You are far from your fleets now," Ada pressed, her tone edging colder. Finally, the Hazari spoke, its voice a low growl that vibrated through the room. "We sought only to understand your resilience, your biology. You humans are unique, adaptive, survivable. You intrigue us. And torturing a child was your method of understanding?" Ada's voice cracked like a whip. "In the vast expanse of the cosmos, survival dictates actions. We take no pleasure in pain, but necessity demands." The Hazari replied, a hint of justification threading through its tone. Ada paused, processing the words. "What war drives such necessity?" she asked, leaning closer. The Hazari shifted, discomfort apparent for the first time. "A greater war, one that threatens all. Our actions against you were preparations for a far more formidable enemy that approaches." Ada's eyes narrowed. "An enemy? Tell us about this enemy. Perhaps we have a common threat." The Hazari hesitated, then began to describe a shadow looming on the horizon of the galaxy, a force known as the Kraloxians, devourers of stars and enslavers of worlds. The description sent chills through the room as tactical implications began to form in Ada's mind. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the news of a successful capture and ongoing interrogation spread. Humanity's leaders convened once more, absorbing the gravity of this new information. If what the Hazari claimed was true, then the scope of their struggle had just expanded exponentially. In space, aboard the sanctuary, Eli sat quietly with Dr. Stanton, who explained to him that the monsters he'd seen might also fear something even more monstrous. Eli's eyes, wide with a mix of fear and curiosity, reflected a maturing understanding. "So, they were scared too?" he asked. "Yes, Eli," Dr. Stanton replied gently. "Sometimes, fear makes creatures do terrible things." As the interrogation continued, Ada and her team worked to verify the Hazari's claims, reaching out to their deep space sensors and scouts. Information trickled in, and piece by piece a larger puzzle began to take shape, a looming threat that might require all of humanity's cunning and might to confront. With each revelation, the strategic landscape shifted. Plans were hastily redrawn, alliances reconsidered, and through it all, the captured Hazari became less of an enemy and more of a key to understanding the greater battle that awaited among the stars. The dialogue between Ada and the Hazari grew deeper, less hostile, more focused on extracting as much knowledge as possible to prepare for the encroaching darkness of the Kraloxians. As the galaxy spun silently around them, humanity braced for a future more uncertain than ever, driven not only by the need to survive but also by the fragile hope of forging a new understanding from the ruins of conflict. In the dim light of the command center aboard Juggernaut Alpha 1, General Ada Maris reviewed the latest intelligence reports with a furrowed brow. The information gleaned from the Hazari captive had been invaluable, revealing not only the nature of the imminent threat, but also possible strategies for confronting the Kryloxians. Her mind raced through tactical simulations, alliances, and countermeasures. The Kryloxians are advancing faster than we anticipated, Ada reported in a secure communication with Earth's United Defense Council. Based on the Hazari's information, we may have less than a few months before their vanguard reaches the outer colonies. The Council, a mosaic of faces representing Earth's diverse nations, listened intently. The urgency of the situation had united them in a way few things could. We need a plan that includes using the Hazari knowledge, and perhaps even their forces, suggested the Brazilian representative, his tone urgent. Ada nodded. I propose a joint task force, combining our technologies and information with that of the Hazari. They fight not out of cruelty but necessity. If we can show them a better path, they may help us stand against the Kryloxians. The plan was bold, a fusion of desperation and diplomacy. Preparations began immediately. Envoys were dispatched to negotiate with the Hazari leaders, offering an alliance against the common enemy. The negotiations were tense, fraught with mistrust on both sides, but the looming threat of the Kryloxians provided a stark backdrop that lent urgency to the discussions. Meanwhile, on the sanctuary, Eli had become a symbol of resilience. His story, broadcast across human media, served to humanize the war and rally support for the coalition efforts. Dr. Stanton continued to care for him, ensuring his story was one of hope, not despair. As the negotiations bore fruit, fleets from both human and Hazari forces began to assemble. The combined fleet, a stunning array of human ingenuity and Hazari technology, prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Joint training exercises commenced, with each species learning from the other, building camaraderie and understanding. Ada oversaw the integration from Alpha 1, her experience and leadership proving crucial in bridging the cultural and technological gaps between the species. We are stronger together than we are apart, she often reminded her crew, a mantra that became the heartbeat of the alliance. In the depths of space, the first reports of Kryloxian scout ships filtered in, confirming that the enemy was near. The Allied fleet, now ready, moved to intercept them at the strategic nebula corridor, a natural bottleneck that could be used to their advantage. The battle, when it came, was unlike any other. The Kryloxians were formidable, their ships capable of siphoning energy from stars themselves, but the newly formed alliance between humanity and the Hazari, fueled by the urgency of survival and the bonds forged through shared adversity, held firm. The Juggernauts, alongside Hazari war vessels, created a bulwark that slowly, painfully pushed the Kryloxians back. After days of intense combat, the tide turned. The Kryloxians, surprised by the ferocity and unity of the alliance, began to retreat. The Allied fleet pursued, ensuring that the Kryloxians would think twice before encroaching on their space again. With the immediate threat repelled, celebrations were muted, the cost having been high. Yet there was a sense of accomplishment, of a catastrophe averted through unexpected cooperation. Back on Earth, as news of the victory spread, humanity looked to the stars with a new perspective. The alliance with the Hazari was formalized, heralding a new era of interstellar cooperation and diplomacy. For Eli and many others, the future held promise, a universe not just of conflicts to be won, but of friendships to be forged. In the aftermath, Ada Maris looked out at the stars from the command deck of Alpha 1. The cosmos, once a realm of isolation and conflict, now whispered promises of unity and peace. As the stars shone brightly against the void,